everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for The Wheel of Time, Season 3, Episode 4, The Road to the Spear. Uh, I think this might be the best episode I've seen in the series. I don't know. It's tough to tell. Some of the finales were pretty good, but man, oh man. If you were looking for answers, if you were looking for lore, if you were looking for world building, if you were looking to tie out some of the relationships specifically between Rand, Moraine, Lanfear, how all those pieces kind of fit together, this was the episode for you. It is fantastic. There's some really cool stuff. I think Josha Stradowski does such a good job. We'll go into specifically why, and then some of the visuals. Just like visually, this episode was fantastic. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is just a visual feast when it comes to some of the things they do with camera, with makeup, with the storytelling, and also just the way that they explore this world that's created in this series. It was a really good time. I was glued to the TV. It was hard to take notes because I just want to, especially because we had a few scenes that they were doing the old tongue. So, like, I had to pay attention and read the subtitles. Man, oh man, this was a good one. This was a good one. So if you missed it, we're gonna talk about it. So if you haven't seen it, make sure to go check it out before you get fully spoiled. All right. So we begin with this is a fully episode. It's a full episode about Rand and Moraine. Rand continues his training with Lan, just with the sword, and I think the Aiel have been very adamant about not wanting swords in the campground, and we learn answers to all the reasons why they have all these uh, rituals and customs and like the things that the Aiel are doing. Lan spars with Avinda, who is meant to be one of the wise ones, so she has to go to the Iridian and do her own trial. But she doesn't want to, right? She likes being somebody who defends her people, somebody who's actively in battle. But ultimately, she understands from the other wise ones that she has to step up and she has to accept her responsibility, which very big theme in this book, right? Your destiny versus your responsibility versus, I guess, what you want, like your individual freedom. Rand also does not want to wait to enter the Meridian. He's gonna do it on the next day. So he goes as they go in. It's a whole production to get there because there's somebody else. There's some other people there already. Uh, they don't like outsiders, as they call them, wetlanders. They don't like Rand. They don't like the idea of Rand, even though he is a blood descendant. They don't like the idea of him going into the Iridian because that should be reserved for only their people. But Moraine also asks to enter, and she's granted access. So both of them go into it. Uh, we get to see a really cool visual of the city in the clouds. As they enter the city, you see all these like this fog, very very cool visually, very ethereal fog that surrounds this city. Also, as they get there, they have to leave all the weapons behind, and I'm trying to remember if this is before. Yeah. So this is before the title even hit. So we were like 20 minutes into the episode already. They have to leave all the weapons behind, and something that seemed a little bit out of left field was how many weapons Moraine has on her. Like she just kept pulling out little knives and stuff. It was actually a little comedic. Just how many weapons she had hidden on her person at all times. Because you have to leave those behind, and there is a very interesting idea that there's so many spears and weapons still left around this city because there's so many people that haven't come back from their reading. They never made it back, which is to be expected. I love the idea of these like the trials and tribulations that you have to go through. Not just the Aes Sedai have to go through their portals, and now Rand and Moraine are going to go through this. They each are going to experience their own thing, right? Which we'll talk about in a second. As we get in there, like I said, we hit the title sequence. They see a tree of life, which is something that goes back deep into the history. This place looks very ethereal. A lot of lights, a lot of the fog itself, the way that it's shot. There's some shots that are really low to the ground, just to kind of give you this idea of like this mythological place. But Rand is sent back through time to different people in his bloodline, and we start with the beginning where we saw the battle, where we find his mom later on dead, right? So we see that first, that jump. He meets his own, I guess, his own dad. He inhabits the body of his own dad. That's what I gather from it, or at least definitely his mom's partner. So and he finds the mom's body. Obviously, by then Rand had already been taken by the the person who raised him, and Rand just continues to learn all about his history. We flash back even further. We learn why they don't use swords. We learn about the way of the leaf. We learn why they are called oath breakers. Like all these origins, all these answers just kind of come flooding in as Rand keeps stepping forward. There was another person already that had gone in there as well, but he's not doing good. He's definitely not doing very well, trying to get out of the Rudian. We also see Moraine. There was a little rock, and I wrote down the name of it. It's called the Sakaran. We don't learn that till way later. It's a little white orb that was hidden in the tree. Moraine takes that, and then she finds Avinda in the rings herself. There are these three rings that once you enter, you kind of float in there. So women and men have different parts of the ritual. Uh, but yeah, we see her floating there. We know that women will go back. We'll go into the future and see possible futures because that's kind of what the wise ones do, and then that's the same thing that Lorraine's gonna see, and Moraine's gonna see a lot of her like different futures, right? Um, we're gonna talk about that. All A lot of the futures that we see the first time around, they involve Rand. Whether it's bending the knee to Rand and accepting him, killing him, capturing him, like Moraine is definitely very intertwined in that relationship. They are connected. They even mentioned that they are connected from way before because it was Moraine's uncle who started the war that led his people to go after him, and that's why his mom and his dad were in the place that they were at, which led to Rand being taken. It's a whole thing. They are so tied together, like just from their origin. It is pretty cool. We also see that um, the origin of the Sakarna and the little orb. We get some hints at the origin of Lanfear in one of the flashbacks. Uh, it is like we get a history of, well, not a history, but we get the reason why they wear the masks, or why they put on their masks. Um, and like I said, we explore about Rand's people at some point, the way of the leaf. uh, I love that the further we step into the past, probably before a lot of the events that, when the world was broken or whatever, the big war, a lot of things look very much like a lot more futuristic, especially once we take one further leap backwards, where Rand's ancestor, wearing a little, almost a little Padawan braid, he's just a farmer. He's serving an Aes Sedai who is Lanfear, and they are like in this like almost Dead Star looking thing floating above. Uh, Lanfear mentions that they have found a way to open up the world, and we see this gigantic explosion. The fortress falls down to the ground. It is. I hope that we touch a little bit more on that because I was very confused. But I do love the idea that even that Lanfear is also so well, like her her past is so much woven into Rand's because of of his bloodline, and she's kind of been there from the beginning. So maybe that's the reason that she's all like they have such a connection in the present time. Um, we see that Rand gets his marks, the double dragon in his arms. Moraine, then we see that she has multiple visions of Lanfear killing her, like in the future, and she was told that she would see 1,000 spins of the wheel with some possible futures. Some things may come true to pass, some things may not. But I can't imagine spending. They spent about 7 days. Ewain and Lan mentioned that it's been 7 days since they left, and I can't imagine spending all that time just seeing yourself die or kill somebody that you really care about, like Rand. Yeah, it reminds me, if you're a fan of Naruto, when the infinite Tsukuyomi, right? Or it, maybe that's not it. Whenever Itachi traps you in the Genjutsu that makes you relive a really traumatic event, or just, anyways, this isn't a Naruto video. But yeah, it was great. It was just a fantastic episode. This is the first time that there was an after the show that I saw. Maybe they're out there and I just haven't seen them. But I did see it. We get Josha Stradowski and Rosamund Pike talking to the showrunner, whose name I forgot to write down. Uh, they also wrote this specific episode, and they just kind of talked about all the things and how this episode came together, how this story between Rand and Moraine is so important that they were devoted to giving them a full episode. Right, we only get 8 episodes per season, so we are getting a full episode of this. So it must have been really important, and I think they nailed it when it comes to the performances, the visuals, some of the makeup, because Joshua Stradowski did all the characters in his own bloodline. Some of the makeup looked a little silly and goofy, and the wigs, like, like it all looks weird because we know what he normally looks like with his look as Rand, and it is pretty obvious that he's behind all the makeup, right? Whether he's portraying an ancestor who's older or more worn torn, like it's a lot of different things. But either way, I think it was a great job. Rosamund Pike also just an amazing job doing this, like floating ethereal dancing in the rings, and then just all those. They do this literally. They turn the camera where it just like starts kind of going upside down, and you see all these possible futures. That must have been really intense to shoot because we see so many different iterations of so many possible futures. Very, very cool. Anyways, this was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time, but I have a lot of questions. But this was also very satisfying to get a lot of answers. But where do we go from here? Like, Ewain looks like he's gonna get some training as a Dreamwalker, but also that is Lanfear's domain, so like that seems dangerous. Also, now that Rand has the dragons and I believe he's called the Karakhan. Like, what does that mean for the Aiel? Like, because he's supposed to lead them, and also supposed to destroy them and then save them. What does that all mean in the prophecy of things? I don't know. There's so much going on, but man, oh man, what a great episode of Wheel of Time. So if you watch this episode of the Wheel of Time, let me know what you thought about it. Let me know your favorite sequences. Let me know just like how you experienced this. Let me know how this compares to reading this in the book if you have read the books up to this point. No spoilers going forward, but just like how does this compare? How does this adaptation of these events that feel very important compare to the events on the book? I don't even know if they went through this. I don't know if maybe this was a story. This feels like it could have been a whole book or a whole few chapters, like condensed into one thing, because so much happened, so much we learned, or like this could have happened through I don't know, like pacing in a book is it can be very weird at some points where you may be revisiting this event multiple times. Anyways, yeah, as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And stay tuned because we have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.